everybody just, they coolin'. Real DJ, real blue DJ though.
Yeah, for real. It's your favorite burn them all, miss. Brothers. I see these scholars always good to try to score us. They think they strong with the milk, we make collusions. We send them phrases to the top, that hallelujah. No bottom feeder, I'm a lawful connoisseur. I always keep them 613 on my medulla. Can't measure this unless you got your who was ruling. No other method, any other you fall short. Cause with these script, my situation no resort. Without a cover, heaven fire leave you scorched. If you scared, why you jumped about the porch? I don't pick it cause I really see the pictures. Broken home, but I grew to be a fiction. I keep it straight, I don't ever do no mixing. Tell the truth, all we really talk is scriptures.
Shalom, shalom, YASHERALA. Hope all is well. Part 2. Y'all really didn't think I was going to neglect to read, like I've been saying I was gonna, from Ezekiel, did you? I hope not. Hopefully, you're part of those who have cleaned themselves and dressed themselves in linen, which is the truth. And you know why I made part 1 to this video, because it was necessary. It was absolutely necessary to make that point about the times we're living in, about the pride YASHERALA lives in order for you to get the memo the Most High wants to give you coming from the book of Ezekiel. He said, and if you were here before, you recall when I read from Ezekiel where he said, you must make known to the house of YASHERALA the measurements of the set apart place of the Hakal. Now, if you're someone who hungers and thirsts for truth, you probably already know what I'm talking about, or you will know, because you're on that quest. If the Messiah said, whoever likes to, they think they can come up around the wall and enter into the kingdom another way. You cannot. You have to enter into the door. Messiah said, I am the door. He said, I am that truth. You have to enter into the truth. You will not find the truth unless you have a hunger and a desire, a thirst for it. You will not enter. If you're someone who's been following along and you've paid attention You're gonna see exactly why we're here when I read this chapter to you. Pay attention. Chapter 4 of Ezekiel, verse 1. And you, son of man, take a clay tablet, and you shall lay it before you, and shall inscribe on it a city, YASHERALA, and shall lay siege against it, and build a siege wall against it, and heap up a mound against it, and set camps against it, and place battering rams against it all around. Then take an iron plate. Notice how there was a clay tablet and an iron tablet, just like I was talking about, just like Daniel talked about at Nebuchadnezzar's dream. The union between good and evil. Take an iron plate and set it as an iron wall between you and the city, and you shall set your face against it, and it shall be besieged, and you shall lay siege against it. And it is a sign to the house of YASHERALA. It's a sign. And lie on your left side, and you shall put the crookedness of the house of YASHERALA on it. As many days as you lie on it, you shall bear their crookedness. For I myself have laid on you the years of their crookedness, according to the number of the days, 390 days. And you shall bear the crookedness of the house of YASHERALA. I've mentioned before what crookedness means. You should already know. And when I read the other day, the first couple chapters, I said that the reason he wants us to know the measurements, the thickness of the wall, it's the number of days that you haven't brought abominations which he hates in the crossed your threshold, your doorstep, into your house, which would be pride on your part. When you come to the humility that's required to enter into the kingdom, you will remove those abominations from your threshold, kick them out the threshold. But there's gonna have to be a certain amount of days you have to do that in order to earn the trust of Abba Yahuwah. He's not a chump. He's not a pushover. He's not gullible, and he's not going to believe your BS to think that just because you quit it yesterday, now you're someone who's proven themselves in order to be allowed into the kingdom. There has to be an amount of time so he can see, well, this guy or this girl, they're serious about this. They really do want to come into my house. They really aren't just faking. They really aren't fronting. They are here and they mean what they say and they say what they mean. Verse 6, and when you have completed them, you shall lie again on your right side and shall bear the crookedness of the house of Yehuda 40 days, a day for a year. I have laid on you a day for a year. Then you shall set your face toward the siege of Jerusalem with your arm bared, and you shall prophesy against it. We know, you should know, that prophecy means you speak the word of the Most High. So you speak the word of the Most High against that wall that Jerusalem has built. And see, I shall put cords on you so that you do not turn from one side to another until you have completed the days of your siege. And take wheat and barley and beans and lentils and millet and spelt, and you shall put them into one vessel and make bread of them. You shall eat it as many days as you lie on your side, 390 days. And your food which you eat is by weight, 20 shekels a day, to be eaten from time to time. And drink water by measure, 1/6 of a hin to be drunk from time to time. And eat it as a barley cake, and bake it before their eyes of human dung. And Yahuwah said, Even so the children of Yasheral shall eat their defiled bread among the nations to whom I drive them. We know that bread means the word. So he's not saying that you didn't read the word. He said you ate defiled word. You ate the word diluted. Then I said, Master Yahuwah, see, I have never defiled myself from my youth till now. I have never eaten what died of itself or was torn by beasts, nor has unclean meat ever come into my mouth. And he said to me, see, I am giving you the dung of cattle instead of human dung, and you shall prepare your bread over it. And he said to me, Son of man, see, I am going to cut off the supply of bread in Jerusalem. And they shall eat bread by weight, and with fear, and drink water by measure, and with dread, so that they lack bread and water, and shall be appalled with one another, and be consumed in their crookedness. They be appalled, like many of y'all are appalled with me. You see? If you can't lay aside your own personal gain, and if you can't take a self-inventory of what you do, what your actions speak, to see if what you do is all about or any about your own personal gain, you've got no chance. You cannot, if you don't do that, you won't be able to see that you do operate on pride. The collective, to come collectively, to come face down before Abba Yahuwah, understanding that he is the Most High and that he gets all esteem. That it's not about, okay, if you go to church this Sunday, I want you to go in the dirtiest clothes you have, covered up. Wipe some oil and some mud on your face. Don't go there to impress. Go there to esteem him. Go there to seek out truth in order that you may better esteem him. Can you do that? That's a self-inventory. That is a evaluation of what you're really doing. That's the whole point of him using the word crookedness. It's not broke. They think they're on the road which leads to life, but it's crooked because they've deviated. They've ventured off the path, which makes their path now broad. And they're dipping in to desires that come from their heart, which we know what comes from the heart. The desires to want to lead. They have a desire to want to impress. They want, whether you believe it or not, whether you like that word impress or not, the truth is what shall set you free. Do you desire to go there to be seen as someone who is qualified to teach, qualified to preach, someone who's qualified to marry? If you're the hot catch in the assembly or not? Whether you have the best jeans on, the best boots, the best dress, the best hairdo, whatever it is. If your videos are more edited than mine ain't never gonna be edited. As long as Abba has anything to do with it, they will not be edited. The message will come from him and him alone. And it's not about tickle in your ears, you should already know that. He said, make known. That means he didn't just say, tell them. He said, make it known to the house of Yasheral, the measurements of the Hakal. If you don't care one bit about the measurements of the house, then hey, you're telling us and the Most High that you don't want to be a member of Yasheral. It doesn't matter what you think you're going to be. If you don't want to know the measurements and why we need to know them, you don't want to be in the house of Yasheral. It's just like the bus stop analogy that I've gave so many times. This can all boil down to you show up at the bus stop at the time that the bus arrives so you can be on the bus at its time of departure. Abba is the bus driver. If you think you're going to get on the bus when it's arriving at, say, 7 o'clock, but you can show up at 8, the bus will be gone. It doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter what you think. You were told to be there at 7 o'clock. If you want to leave, you best be there at 7 o'clock. Being there at 7 o'clock means you give him all esteem, which means you are attentive to all things that come out of his mouth, which you don't care. You put aside all your ambitions, all your desires to be someone in the church, all your desires to make a well-edited video, to be on TBN, to be seen. That's the whole point of you decreasing. You have to decrease. If you don't want to know the dimensions of the house of Yasheral, you ain't the house of Yasheral. Bye-bye. If you are, chapter 5. And you, son of man, take a sharp sword, take it as a barber's razor, and you shall pass it over your head and your beard, and you shall take scales to weigh and divide the hair. Burn with fire 1/3 in the midst of the city when the days of the siege are completed. And you shall take 1/3 and strike it around with the sword and scatter 1/3 in the wind. And I shall draw out a sword after them. And you shall take a few hairs from there and bind them in the edge of your garment. That means that not very many of you who think you're part of Yasheral are even going to make it, because not very many of you would even take the time to listen to what the Most High is bringing you. Because it don't sound right, because you got better things to do, because blah, 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 blah. There's very few find it. And you shall take a few hairs from there and bind them in the edge of your garment, and take again some of them and throw them into the midst of the fire and burn them in the fire. From it a fire shall spread unto the house of Yasheral. Thus said the Master Yahuwah, this is Jerusalem, which I have set in the midst of the nations with the other lands all around her. But she rebelled against my right rulings, doing wrong more than the nations, and my laws more than the lands are all around her. For they have rejected my right rulings, and they have not walked in my laws. Therefore, thus said the Master Yahuwah, because you have rebelled more than the nations all around you, and have not walked in my laws, nor have done my right rulings, nor even done according to the right rulings of the nations all around you. Therefore, thus said the Master Yahuwah, look, I myself am against you, and shall execute judgments in your midst before the eyes of the nations. And I shall do among you what I have never done, and the like of which I will never do again. I never do again. Sorry. Because of all your abominations. Therefore, fathers are going to eat their sons in your midst, and sons eat their fathers. And I shall execute judgments among you, and scatter all your remnant to all the winds. Therefore, as I live, declares the Master Yahuwah, because you have defiled my set-apart place with all your disgusting matters, and with all your abominations, therefore I also withdraw, and my eye shall not pardon, nor shall I spare. 1/3 of you shall die of pestilence, and be consumed with scarcity of food in your midst. And 1/3 shall fall by the sword all around you, and I shall scatter another third to all the winds, and draw out a sword after them. And my displeasure shall be completed, and I shall bring my wrath to rest upon them, and I shall be eased. And they shall know that I, Yahuwah, have spoken it in my ardor, when I have completed my wrath upon them. And I shall make you a waste and a reproach among the nations that are all around you, before the eyes of all who pass by. And it shall be a reproach and an object of scorn, a warning and an astonishment to the nations that are all around you, when I execute judgments among you in displeasure and in wrath and in heated chastisements. I, Yahuwah, have spoken, when I send against them the evil arrows of scarcity of food, which shall be for their destruction. Scarcity of the word, which I send to destroy you. I shall increase the scarcity of food upon you and cut off your supply of bread. See, Scripture, the word of the Most High defines the word of the Most High. And I shall send against you scarcity of food and evil beast, and they shall bereave you. Evil beast. All these preachers, all these systems of people that like to preach to you, that like to tell you their opinion of what the word says instead of what the word actually says. And pestilence and blood shall pass through you while I bring the sword against you. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. There's a lot of things that believers, quote unquote, do that disgust him. If you're someone that likes to pray in front of people, you like to come up and say, "Can I pray for you? Can we just say this prayer?" What did Yahushua say? When you pray, go into your prayer closet, to your secret place, where the Most High, Abba Yahuwah, who hears you in secret, hears your prayer. If you're praying in front of people, it's because you want some esteem, which takes away any esteem from Abba, which gives none to him. And I've showed you in Scripture before, time immemorial, it takes all esteem to enter into the kingdom, which is the equivalent, there's only one equivalent, which is the equivalent of humility. Anything other than that is the equivalent of pride. If you're prideful at all, you will be destroyed. You are in that delusion. You got no idea of what's even going on around you. If you're someone who just now sees the light and you're willing to remove all abominations from your threshold, or you just began back then, it's going to take some time. Hopefully there's enough time for you to get all that exercised out of your life. If you haven't started before today, start now. Start by putting yourself face down and giving Abba Yahuwah, the Most High, our wonderful Creator, all esteem, all praise, all glory, and all honor. Removing anything you had reserved for yourself out of the equation. If you want to live, you best have got that memo. Chapter 6. Next time you hear from me, these